Brayan Bello gets the nod to start the season as the Red Sox are just over a week away from opening day in Seattle.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. That's the absolute best part. So you should start your day off the right way and check out Locked On Red Sox wherever you listen to podcasts. You really have nothing to lose here. Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome to the show. We are just over a week away from opening day, and the Red Sox are starting to make finalized roster decisions, what the opening day roster is going to look like. And Alex Cora announced on Tuesday that Brayan Bello will be the opening day starter. Earlier on in the offseason, we're talking like right after the season ended and we were just getting into the offseason, Alex Cora had kind of pronounced Chris Sale as the opening day starter for 2024. So then obviously circumstances there changed that statement. So I was sitting here saying, okay, obviously Chris Sale isn't going to be the opening day starter because the Red Sox now traded him. So who is going to be the opening day starter? And I felt like Brayan Bello has deserved that opportunity for a while. He's really been developing his game and has shown that he can be reliable a lot of the time. And I think the Red Sox have high hopes for him going into the 2024 season. So he will be the opening day starter for Boston when they open the season on the West Coast. I am curious to see how that goes for him, the late night start, if there's going to be any fatigue at all, or if he's going to be able to jump right into it and pitch effectively. Because when a team goes on a West Coast trip, there is an adjustment period. There's going to be fatigue because of all the travel involved, and there's going to be just maybe some tiredness from having played a lot of games. But the one advantage that they do have in regards to having a West Coast trip to start the season is that they won't have had other regular season games before that. So for the team, they'll be coming off of spring training and they'll hopefully feel relaxed and rested going into the series so that they can start the season off strong, as opposed to doing this West Coast trip in the middle of the season when they're in that mid-season slump of maybe feeling like we've played a lot of games and we're tired, but we have so many games left. So at least with the travel, they can incorporate the time for that, as opposed to finishing up one series and then maybe playing the next day on the West Coast. So from that standpoint, it's a good thing. Hopefully Bello can take some time to mentally get in the right mindset of being where he needs to be to make this start on opening day. Last season, he finished with a 4.24 ERA and a 12-11 record. He pitched in 28 games, 157 innings total, and struck out 132 batters. So he overall had a very good season. The one thing I was looking at, though, with him was, can he pitch effectively in daytime starts? So the good news for him is that opening day for the Red Sox this year is not a daytime game. Typically on opening day, they do play an afternoon game. So from the standpoint of how he struggled last year and when he struggled, it's actually more in his benefit that they're playing on the West Coast to start the season, since that's a night game, because he's proven to have struggled a lot more during the day. So that's a plus side to that, is that he can come in on opening day, do his thing, and hopefully have a dominant performance so that his confidence can continue to grow. Because it's got to be a huge honor for him being named the opening day starter. That means the Red Sox trust him. They see him as that number one guy who will be their guy this season that they can rely on the most. And if Giolito was healthy, who knows whether Giolito or Bello would have gotten the start on opening day, but we won't know that. But the reality at the end of the day is that they trust Bello and they view him as a top of the rotation guy that they can rely on all season long, and they're ready to see his development. And having him start on opening day, I think, is fantastic. First of all, it can help him get through those nerves of starting on opening day. It could be a little bit scary being like, okay, I have to be the guy who sets the tone here for the season. It's opening day. The fans want good baseball. They're all excited. So all eyes are going to be on me. So if he makes that start, automatically it's giving him the confidence of this team believes in me, so I can come out here and deliver. So in the long term, from the standpoint of his confidence, that'll really help with that. And also, given the fact that he's going to be making a start on opening day after seeing last season and how opening day didn't go that well for the Red Sox, he has a chance to turn that around and create a new Red Sox opening day for the fans, because the Red Sox the last few years have tended to lose quite a bit on opening day. And so if he can go out there and pitch a really solid start and the Red Sox win on opening day, it creates a different taste in the fans' mouths, and it gives this sense to the fans of, okay, there's hope. We have our starter who we can rely on. So there's a lot riding on Brayan Bello starting opening day, but I do think he absolutely deserves it. In this spring in 2024, he does have a 4.85 ERA, but he's only started 4 games, only has pitched 13 innings total. They're trying to keep him kind of at a lower pitch count, having him pitch around 3 innings or so in each of his starts. He struck out 11 batters in that time, and he's scheduled next to pitch on Thursday. So when it comes to Bello, this spring and how he's pitched, I wouldn't weigh that too much into how he's going to be during the season, because for one, players do get rusty during spring training. They haven't seen live hitters in a while. They haven't been going through their regular routine that they go through during the season. Yes, they have their off-season regime that they go through, but it's not to the same level as what they're seeing during the season. So there's definitely got to be some leeway there. Him starting off a little bit rusty and only making a few starts so far. Once the season starts, I do feel like he'll be ready to go. That's the whole point of spring training. Get yourselves into form for the season. And I'm not moved at all by those numbers that he's put up. He is starting to get his strikeout number up a little bit more. If he can increase that strikeout rate and continue to strike out guys at a more rapid pace, that'll put him in a great position to be able to succeed during this upcoming season, because he has a lot going for him. He's improved a lot of his pitches. Alex Cora is really confident in what he's brought to the table and what he's seen from him this spring. He really likes his development and how things have been going for him so far. But the strikeouts were one thing that I wanted to see him continue to improve with. And hopefully he's been able to get a good sense of how he can fool hitters this spring training, because the more that he's able to effectively strike people out, the more he's going to be seen eventually as an ace. I'm not expecting him to have an ace caliber season, at least early on in the year this year. He does need to have a couple really strong daytime starts before I can confidently say that he is an ace caliber pitcher. However, he is the Red Sox ace right now, and he absolutely has the potential to be an ace down the road. There are just some little things he needs to continue to work through, and we're seeing a lot of that in spring training. He's going out there, he's looking pretty confident, and he's looking like he's eager to start the season. So I'm happy that the Red Sox made him the opening day starter this year. A lot of circumstances are in his favor with it being a night game versus a day game, him showing this spring that he's been improving and growing in a lot of different areas, and for the standpoint of his confidence, being able to increase that, get him feeling better about himself and the pitcher he is, realizing the Red Sox believe in him, could put him in a better mindset heading into the 2024 season. So get ready to see Brayan Bello starting on opening day. Nick Pivetta will get the nod in game 2. It was announced, so then presumably Kutter, Crawford after that, and then still decisions to make with that back end of the rotation. But go Brayan Bello. I am rooting for him, and I hope he has a very successful, long start on opening day. The Red Sox are going to need that because there is a reliever who is key to this team that has not had a great start to the spring so far, and I'm going to be covering that next. Are you looking to play more daily fantasy sports? Is it something you really like or enjoy? PrizePicks is the place for you no matter how much you like fantasy sports because they will make you like it. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. PrizePicks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player projection won't count against you and the rest of your entry stays live because it's so unpredictable you can't predict injuries. So it's nice that they offer that and it won't negatively impact you. There's been a lot of situations in which PrizePicks gives great daily fantasy scenarios. For example, lots of key basketball players who could score a lot of points. Like if you're picking Jason Tatum to score more than 20 points, that's definitely a safe option. So you should select that for the Celtics game tonight. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. It really, truly is that easy, and it will make you want to continue to play daily fantasy sports because you'll be winning money, and who doesn't like that? As you know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV. But baseball fans, today is the day at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The best MLB season preview will be coming exclusively to Locked On Sports today. Be the first to get local insight from the MLB local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Find it on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. This will be a great time. You absolutely will love it, I promise, so make sure you tune in. One pitcher who has had a rough start to spring training for the Boston Red Sox is Kenley Jansen. He definitely has not been able to catch a break here in his start to his second season in Boston. The 36-year-old closer is just already dealing with minor ailments, which have pushed back his ramp-up period and are most definitely jeopardizing him from starting the season on time. He entered spring training to begin with lat soreness and was scratched from what was supposed to be his second spring training appearance on Monday due to lower back tightness. And he was again supposed to pitch on Tuesday, but was scratched for the second day in a row because of a nagging lower back issue. The hope is that he will be able to make an appearance again soon, but Alex Cora did mention on Tuesday that when it comes to his opening day availability, we still have time, but we're running out of time. That's not great news for him to hear because the Red Sox don't have another closer. Presumably, Chris Martin would be next in line to close games if Jansen isn't ready or available for opening day, but he's also banged up himself right now with groin problems. So, what are the Red Sox going to do? I mean, likely Tanner Houck is going to end up in the rotation, and he's somebody who I looked at as somebody who could potentially be the closer if Jansen is either traded or not available, or if Martin is hurt, because it just made sense to me. But they can't have Houck close games if they want to put him in the rotation. And more things just keep happening to the Red Sox that are showing their lack of moves that they made this offseason. Because how do they deal with this Kenley Jansen situation? He's stressed right now. He's saying this is the first time he's dealing with a lot of stuff, and he's trying to figure out why. He's felt like he's had a healthy career so far, but this year in particular, spring training has just not been a good time for him because every day there's been something hurting. And that's concerning because he is getting older, so it could be just a sign that his body is just starting to not be able to handle the rigor of playing in Major League Baseball anymore. And I just don't know that he'll be able to be fully healthy this season for the Boston Red Sox. I feel like this probably will be his last season in the league. At least it probably should be. He should retire and consider it at least after this upcoming season. But who knows how much of a healthy Kenley Jansen they're going to get. And they can't really trade him during the season, even if they were trying to now, because if he's spending a lot of the season on the IL, what team is going to trade for him because he won't be able to play? And the likelihood of him starting on the IL is more and more by the day. That's increased chances just as time goes on. So it's definitely a concern. He's just been so durable throughout his 14-year MLB career and was a key piece in the bullpen last year, closed out some really tight games for the Red Sox. He was the only all-star for the team in 2023 and finished the season converting 29 of 33 save opportunities to go along with a 3.63 ERA and 52 strikeouts and 44 2/3 innings pitched. Jansen not being ready for the start of the season would just create a big question mark in that back end of the bullpen. He's only made one appearance in spring training so far, which came last Friday against the Twins. He recorded 2 outs and allowed 2 home runs, so he really didn't look good at all. I think they probably were just trying to throw him out there to see where he was at, see how he was feeling, and see if he's able to resume more aggressive baseball activity and be able to pitch in more games, or if he has to keep resting. And again, he has not been able to pitch since then. And Alex Cora seemed pretty adamant that he would have had to pitch on Tuesday in order to be ready for opening day, and that unfortunately didn't happen. So what do the Red Sox do now? Do they hope that Chris Martin is going to be healthy, have him close out games until Jansen can come back? If he comes back, do they sign somebody? I mean, obviously probably not, but I wish they would. Do they have Winkowski maybe step into the closing role? Chris Murphy is another guy who got some opportunities last year, but is he really reliable to be pitching in that high leverage of a situation enough to close out a game? Plus, he's dealing with some injuries too. Is Garrett Whitlock the guy? Do they keep him back in the bullpen for that reason because they need somebody who can pitch in the close games in relief and be able to close out those games with the Red Sox up a 1 run or 2 runs, or in a tie game when they need to keep it a tie? Do they decide they don't want to put Houck in the rotation and bring him into that role? There are a lot of different scenarios that the Red Sox need to play around with and say, do we trust one of our new guys that we just brought in, like a Cooper Criswell or Isaiah Campbell type of pitcher, to be trusted to throw in those types of situations? Lots of gambles to take. And to me, the Red Sox seem to be okay with that. I don't think they have plans to replace anybody who might be gone for opening day, might not be able to be present and be in the game. Because if they haven't signed anybody to replace Lucas Giolito in this last couple weeks, then why should we feel like they're going to sign somebody to maybe replace Kenley Jansen in that closing spot? And I had been saying for a while this offseason that if Kenley Jansen is healthy, it makes sense to keep him as the closer, but it almost felt like a risk holding on to just him because of where he's at in his career. And now look at where we're at now. The Red Sox don't have another closer, and they don't have anybody who has really shown that they can consistently close out games besides Chris Martin. Maybe he was more of the eighth inning bridge guy last year, but he's probably the best bullpen option they have to be able to close games. Then you have Brennan Bernardino, who will still be there, but do they want to put him into a situation of closing games because he was so good in the role he was in last year, which was more of a sixth or seventh inning type of guy who would come in when the starter was struggling and get it done in a couple innings and then turn to a Chris Martin type of pitcher after that. So do they want to really move what his role on the team has been, because he was kind of similar to Josh Winkowski last year, that sixth or seventh inning guy that would come in before Martin and Jansen. So do you really want to mess with that? But at this point, they're going to be messing with something in some way. Somebody's going to have to be put in a spot that the Red Sox might not have preferred for them to be in, and they don't feel as confident with them in. But you know what? At the end of the day, the Red Sox put themselves in this situation because they chose not to go all out and sign all these pitchers during the offseason to help feel those security blankets that they would have on the roster. They just didn't execute that. And so now the problem is becoming, if somebody does get hurt, they don't really have the necessary backup options. And I think we're going to see a lot of this year. That's relatively similar to last year in that if somebody gets hurt, they're throwing somebody in there and hoping it works. Could be a lot of scattered scenarios that we see here in 2024. I hope Kenley's okay. I mean, he's definitely trying to power through. He clearly wants to be out there. And if it was his choice, he would just pitch through it. But he just can't do that, especially if he is trying to prolong his career at least till the end of the season, if not maybe next year as well. He needs to be cautious of that and be able to not rush back if the Red Sox are giving him the opportunity to do that. And I'm sure they wanted to get his feet wet when he pitched last week just because he had been removed from the game. And that's another worry that I have is even if he is physically ready for opening day, is he going to be able to be effective because he lost so much time during spring training by trying to recover and not being ready. So there's a lot of pending questions regarding Kenley Jansen and his recovery process. Is he going to be good to go for opening day? Alex Cora doesn't seem optimistic. If he does start the season on the injured list, how long will that be for? Hopefully not long, because the Red Sox do need a closer, especially for a team that is hanging by a thread with this pitching staff. They need somebody who's a bona fide closer out there who can get it done in those high leverage situations. And Kenley is that guy. So we'll wait to hear more updates on it, but hopefully he is able to pitch come opening day. I'm not very optimistic that he will, and if he doesn't, when will he start to be able to feel like he can come back and pitch? We'll know soon enough, but hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Coming up, a couple of key things to note from Tuesday's spring training game for the Red Sox, so I'm going to be going over that next. If you're ever trying to score last-minute tickets for anything, anytime, Gametime is the place that you should be heading. I actually just used Gametime this past week. I went to watch the UConn Marquette game in the Big East Championship, and it was super cool. And my friend and I were talking about getting tickets, and I was like, oh, it would be so cool to go. And the prices were really expensive. So I went to Gametime and was able to find such reasonable deals on there. So we ended up purchasing last minute tickets through Gametime, went to the championship game at Madison Square Garden and had an absolute blast. And it was so worth it. So that could be you too. Gametime offers tickets for events in all different places, events of all kinds, concerts, games, etc., whatever you're really thinking of. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. They will guarantee you the lowest price, and it's so nice to be able to see that view from your seat. So check out Gametime today for all of your ticket needs. Also, you should check out Locked On Sports Today, which is the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and it's now also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. It's so great for the network because nobody else has this. Locked On is the first network to have a 24/7 sports streaming channel. So if you're ever looking to stay caught up in all the action with sports, Locked On Sports Today is the place for you. As we approach a week until opening day, can you believe it? It's coming fast. I'm so excited. The springtime baseball is almost here. And the Red Sox have some good things that they're ready for opening day, some things that are not so great that are going to hit them come opening day, but they did play a game on Tuesday against the Tampa Bay Rays and won that game 5-2. And the story of that game was Triston Casas. He crushed a home run to center field, his second home run of spring training. He's so ready to go. He looks like he's very much improved going into the season. So much confidence out there, so much of a better understanding of what to swing at, what not to swing at, such control over the plate and just owning the plate when he's up there. That's what we love to see from Casas. He also drove in a couple more runs on a single to right, scoring Jarren Duran and Reese McGuire, and moved Reyes over to third base. So he drove in the majority of the runs for the Red Sox, and then Devers reached on an infield single to drive in a run, and Pablo Reyes drove in a run on a walk. So those were how the 5 runs were scored for Boston. But Triston Casas really was the story of the game. The cool thing about Casas, too, is he's so young. He has so much more of his career ahead of him, and this is only the beginning for him. Had a great rookie season, got a full season under his belt, and now he's ready to go year 2, ready to just smash baseballs and just own it, own everything about the game and his position and his offense. I'm just so excited to see him go up against some of the best pitchers in the league in 2024 because I really do think he's going to crush it and he's going to have a great season. 2 for 4 on Tuesday with 3 RBIs and a home run. He did strike out one time, but that'll come with time. He'll figure it out. I'm just so excited to see the way he performs in 2024. And Kutter Crawford also looked good. He started the game for Boston, went 5.2 innings, giving up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. But the biggest thing was he struck out 6 batters. He's developing for sure. He's improving. He's gaining that command. He's starting to really grow on me as a potential stud pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. He only has a 1.98 ERA in his spring training starts so far this year. He's looked very good, and if the Red Sox can get that version of Kutter Crawford during the season, that's going to be a pleasant surprise, but a huge addition for the Boston Red Sox. In a pitching staff right now that has so many question marks, he really has an opportunity to make his mark and be seen as maybe that number 2 starter behind Bello in terms of his ability. So I'm really rooting for him. I hope he's able to continue to grow his game and develop to the point where he can be reliable all season long. You don't know for sure how things are going to translate from the spring over to the season. But for Crawford, I'm hoping that he can bring what he's bringing now to the plate when the season starts, because he has a lot to offer, and we've seen glimpses of that in the past from him. But if he can put it all together this year, that's a good pitcher that we're seeing. But the question is if. I still have yet to see him actually put that all together. And again, we don't know how it's all going to translate from what it is during spring training to what it's going to be during the season. But if you have three solidified starters in Bello, Crawford, and Pivetta, Crawford could easily slot himself in there as that solid number two if he continues to develop in the way that the Red Sox are hoping he will and want him to develop. So that was a promising thing about the game on Tuesday, was that his start was very good. Josh Winkowski did pitch out of the pen 2.1 innings, giving up 2 hits but 0 earned runs, and he struck out 2 batters. And then Joely Rodriguez also came out of the pen, pitched 1 inning, gave up 0 earned runs, recorded 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. So those two guys in Winkowski and Rodriguez looked very good out of the pen. They held their own, did not give up any more runs other than the 2 that Crawford gave up. So a very solid day on the mound overall for the Red Sox. And that's the pending question, is what is this rotation and bullpen going to look like heading into 2024? Could really make or break the season that the Red Sox have. And if these pitchers continue in the way that they're pitching right now, the Red Sox could be in better shape than we think from a pitching standpoint. And you know what we have to do is hope that this happens and keep the faith. As always, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.